You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning. Welcome to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ, 750 AM, 312-255-8408, 312-255-8408. You can also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Sakowitz, the rector of Holy Name Cathedral, along with Mark Teresi, co-host and executive director of the cathedral. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good morning. Very good. I'd rather see the rain than the snow.
Here's the thing. With the rain, you don't have to shovel rain.
Right, exactly.
And if this had been snow, it would have been probably at least a foot. It's going to be raining all day because the temperature is above 32. It's going to be raining, but this would have been a lot of snow. In fact, in many ways, our month of February so far has been identical to like early March weather.
Oh, yeah.
35, 40, 45 degrees, cloudy. We're like running a month ahead of schedule. So far in Chicago has been a very mild winter. A few cold days and little snow, but this is nothing to complain about.
But just be careful on the drive coming in today. The water settles, and I literally could not see in front of me when
Tell
the car...
people what happened to you this morning.
Well, the car in front of me hit a major puddle, and it hit my windshield, and I couldn't see for about 3 wipes,
Wow.
which means you could veer one way or the other.
If he had actually slowed down, you would have rear-ended him because
Oh, yeah, exactly.
in that time with 3 wipes, you could never have reacted.
No,
And to got to leave better distance.
Yeah, so be careful if
Be
you're on the
careful out
drive
there.
today.
Again, 312-255-8408 here on Catholic Chicago. We have a tremendous different type of program lined up with live in studio, not dead, live in studio, Karl Kozlowski, good Polish name like Sakowicz, Kozlowski, who is a comedian, writer. He was on WGN Radio. Was it on Sunday or Monday?
The January 10th, Sunday night with Rick Hogan on his radio show. Like really long-time Tribune writer and host of the radio show.
And then your claim to fame is you do clean comedy.
Yes, sir. And I've also been, I'm a comic for over 25 years, and I'm a reporter for over 25 years. And I did a lot of funny reporting, including when I worked at the Tribune for a year. And I wound up winning a stand-up contest at the Laugh Factory Comedy Club, which is here also, but in Hollywood. And I won the title of America's Funniest Reporter in a national contest they had.
Give us a taste.
Oh, no. Let me think. My life's come full circle. Like when I was a little boy around 10, I'd be at Catholic school and out in the Catholic community, and every old lady would say, "So, have you thought about being a priest?" And now I'm like I am 50, and I'm still single. And so I go up to little old ladies at my church, and I say, "So, do you have a daughter my age I could go out with?" And they look me up and down, and they go, "So, have you thought about being a priest?"
Here's another good line. There's a husband says,
Here we
my
go.
my wife's cooking is so bad, even the flies are chipping in to get the screen fixed.
That's awesome.
Karl, give us your background. Born and raised where?
Okay, I was born in El Cajon, California, near San Diego, and we lived in Chicago from when I was like 2 to 6. And then my dad was in the VA as a doctor, and he got a job in the Little Rock area, so we moved to North Little Rock, Arkansas in like 77, and my folks have had their house since 79. And so I mean, I grew up from like age 8 or 6 in Little Rock, Arkansas area. And then I went to a Catholic grade school called St. Edward's, which was fantastic. And I have some stories about it in the book I'm promoting. And then went to Little Rock Catholic High, and then I went to Texas Christian University for college, and I wound up moving to Chicago a year after college to study at Second City.
Oh, did you really?
Who'd you
What
study
year
with?
was that?
It was 1994, and it was like a year-and-a-half-long program to 96.
And you studied under whom?
Let me see, Martin DeMont, the legendary guy. He ran the conservatory there.
Oh, yeah.
And then Ann Libro was a favorite of mine. She taught us the class where we learned how to do political issues, and that was my favorite thing. Even though I'm not a political comic anymore at all, I comment in a funny way on Facebook about my views on politics. And then
Any classmates? Any famous classmates?
It's weird.
Carlos Kozlowski.
I don't want to brag at all, but I'm the only one who's still doing anything, as far as I know.
Now, here's a question. A lot of times I know guys who are funny in life now, in grammar school and high school, actually very, very quiet and introverted. Was in grammar school, were you the class clown or were you actually a perfect student?
Oh, no, I was a class clown.
You were.
I was in trouble from the get-go. And, I was a good student, and I behaved most of the time. But I like to tell people, like, I've got, like, 50 stories in this book, like, based on my life, funny things. And people go, oh, my gosh, how did so much happen to you? And I go, think about it. We're alive thousands of days, and 50 times I had something crazy happen. Although there's a lot more of those where it came from. I do have a amazing magnetism for weird things to happen to me.
Like, give us one.
Oh, geez. Like we were talking, Father, I think I said you resemble Roger Ebert, who was my hero as a kid. I mean, that is a total compliment. And
Now, no one's ever said that.
No.
Really?
I've heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I've heard
Oh,
of
yeah,
Dick
right.
Butkus. Dick Butkus.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you're
yeah.
much thinner than him, but your face is the same. It's amazing because I knew him a little bit. And anyways, okay, so here's something that happened with me and
Now,
Ebert.
Mark Treacy, now wipe that smile off your face.
I know. Take me off the camera, please.
I don't want to hear what this guy's thinking over there. Keep going, Carl.
Okay, well, there used to be a movie theater along, not State Street, but on Rush, I think, or around here.
Oh,
There was
sure.
a big and I loved going to that movie theater. And I was a film writer. I wrote for Screen Magazine, which was around a long time covering the TV and film industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went under when the owner died a few years ago. But I wrote for them, wrote for the Tribune, I wrote for New City, where I really started my career. And I wrote for Chicago Reader as a freelancer. I was on staff New City and Chicago Tribune. And now I write for the Chicago Sun-Times covering comedians that come through Chicago. And anyway, but the point is that I got to go to lots of entertainment events because of working at this magazine about the industry. So I got free tickets to a movie. It was just so awful. It was called Forces of Nature with Ben Affleck and Sandra Bullock, and there's a point to that. Do not ever watch it, okay? So I go into the theater, and and I had a big backpack with me, just stuffed. And I was carrying around probably backbreaking amount of stuff back then. I don't know why. So I put my bag under my seat, and as the movie starts, it starts in a hospital where Ben Affleck is visiting his dying father. And in the background, we start hearing, I got you under my skin. And I thought, oh, that's sweet.
No.
I thought that was sweet, like nice touch in the movie.
Yeah.
Then the scene changes, and it's still singing that
I've
in the
got you
background.
under my...
Yeah, and then the third scene happens, and people start looking around like, what is that? And I'm looking at them like, what? Why are you looking at me? And so finally, I get tapped on the back of my shoulder, and it goes, you need to move. And I would look, and it's Roger Ebert, extremely angry.
Oh.
And so I jump up out of my seat, and my bag is emanating this song at top volume. It was muffled under my seat. I jump up, I grab my bag, and I'm running out of the theater like a terrorist, and I throw it down in the lobby, and all the guards and the studio reps and the theater management, they're all running towards me like, what are you doing? What happened? What happened? And I was like, I don't know. And it's still blasting. And I rip open my bag and I'm going through it. And then I find, I have a tape recorder in there. And I Got You Under My Skin on continuous loop because it was the background for an acting thing I was doing at Second City. And so I set it off. I shut the bag and I say, can I please go in? I got to review this. And they're like, are you kidding me? But they let me back in without the bag. They said, Dad's staying here. I go back in and I sit down and I look around where Ebert is, and he's like across the aisle, and just like Siskel and Ebert. And then he goes, thank you.
Now, at that point, had you met him before? Was that the first encounter?
No, just briefly, because when I worked at the Tribune, we were back then. The Tribune was in that beautiful tower, which is now condos, which is horrible. And they were across the street from the Sun-Times, which I'm not sure if they're still located in the same place. But there was a bar called the Billy Goat or something.
Yeah.
And a lot of reporters would hang out there, and he came in once, and so I ran up. I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're my hero!" And he's like, "Okay."
Now you went to
That's a
Catholic.
great
You went
story.
to Catholic schools.
Yes, sir.
Grammar school and high school.
Yeah.
Any nun stories? Any comical?
Oh
nuns?
yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So as saying
Listen,
that
you're
works,
among friends, you can tell us.
Yes.
believe me, this is crazy, but I'm going to have to use. You ever seen Christmas Story?
Oh, sure.
Okay, you know how he says fudge? Is it okay for me to say fudge
Yes,
for a
you can.
funny story?
Yes.
All right, so
We have a 7-second delay in case.
We used
well,
to.
no, I'm not going to mess up. I'm not Richard Pryor. I mean, so anyway, so one day, so we had a nun named Sister Hermana.
What grade?
This is first grade.
Oh, wow, okay.
First grade. So one day I'm playing with my sister and a couple other kids at a park bench, some board game. And I wound up clobbering them all. And I went to say, this is fun, but I actually said, this is fudge. And my sister, everybody froze like, and my sister looks at me like with this devious look. And I'm realizing she's going to run and rat on me. And so I thought it's better if it comes from me first. So we both jump up running, and my sister's not saying it, but I'm going, Mom, she's out watering plants on in front of our house. And I go, Mom, I said fudge. And she's like, she drops the hose, and she's like, oh my goodness, how could you? And she starts whomping me on my butt. And she literally said, the only time I've ever heard this, wait till your father gets home. So I knew I was going to be in trouble. So my dad comes in, totally old school Catholic, and he had been in a seminary even for a while before he decided for marriage. And so imagine my father hearing this, and fairly new to America. He had moved from Poland like 8 years before, and a lot of, he was learning a lot about American culture to make decisions as a parent, So imagine his son comes home with the worst word imaginable, and so.
In first grade.
I know. And so what happened was, he spanks me with a belt, only time in my life, one time, and I start, he said literally, this is going to hurt me more than hurt you. And so he takes his belt, and I'm like, he goes, pull your pants down, and he hits me, and I start crying, and he immediately is like, put your pants up, and he hugs me, and he's crying. He's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, wow, okay. But then he says, I want to know where you heard this. And I said, and this is truth, I said, I don't know why I said it, but I saw that word on a bathroom stall at school. And my dad is like, what? So the next morning, my mom usually took us to school. He takes me down there. He takes me to the principal's office. Her name is Sister Hermana, which is sister for all the Spanish inclined. I mean, it's like sister, right? So, so the thing is, she was like this old battle axe, like real tough lady.
Don't mince words here.
I mean, her arms were like built like, Schwarzenegger, and she was notorious for having this paddle that had holes cut into it so that it had maximum velocity. It probably left holes on your behind. And so my dad brings a note in. Or no, my dad just shows up and he goes, my son, he saw a word on your bathroom stall. And she goes, what word? And my dad's like, I can't say it. And she says, she goes, well, how am I supposed to change the situation if you don't tell me? He says, I'll write it down. So he starts writing F and the rest. About 2 letters in, She goes, "What? Not in my bathroom?" And I go, "No, not your bathroom, sister, the boys' room." And so we go down to the boys' room, and I'm just going, please God, let it be there, because I didn't want it to be some like mixed up thing, where I really saw it somewhere else. So we go in the bathroom, or we open the door, and some boy sees her and goes, "Oh my gosh," and he runs out the door. And so sister brings us in with my dad and me and the janitor. And she says, "Where is it?" And so I go into the stall, and I look up, and there it is. I mean, it's like,
God, your life was saved.
I don't want to say thank God for that, but but in a way, if it hadn't been there, I would have been in a whole lot of trouble. I've been lying about swearing, right? And so she sees it, and she goes to the janitor, "Yeah, get some paint." And so the janitor gives me a look, and I'm imagining what's in his head is fudge.
Well, thank you.
Now, on that note,
yes,
take us to break, Mark.
Yeah,
That's a great story.
And I'll use different letters. WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago 312-255-8408. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We'll be back with Carl Kozlowski. Dozed and Confused is his book.
Yep.
It's hilarious already, I can tell. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
Great.
Catholic Charities invites you to First Look for Charity, an extraordinary black tie evening at McCormick Place on Friday, February 10th. Enjoy an elegant, private reception and be among the first to explore the latest in automotive innovation at the Chicago Auto Show. Your ticket also gives you the chance to win either a 2023 Honda CR-V or a 2023 Subaru Crosstrek. As you register, please select Catholic Charities so a portion of your ticket purchase benefits those we serve. Join us at First Look for Charity on Friday, February 10th. Visit CatholicCharities.net to get your tickets today.
People always say, how can you spend your day with 3-year-olds? Seeing the changes that they go through and just the journey and how they grow, this is a very rewarding job. Even though at the end of the day, we're not the highest paid people on earth. And when I have a parent contact me and say, my child loves school, that to me, I'm setting that foundation for their love of learning. Because really, you are changing lives. You are molding lives.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Caring adults make all the difference in the lives of adolescents. Catholic Charities understands this, and our mentorship programs provide a free opportunity for young adults to spend time with volunteers who genuinely care about them. This program is ideal for youth aged 9 through 12 who may need support navigating the challenges of childhood and early adolescence. Our amazing volunteers serve as friends who help youth recognize their strengths and empower them to reach their full potential. Catholic Charities conducts a thorough background check on every volunteer, and our program coordinator closely monitors and supports every relationship. Mentoring is a fun after-school program that can help young adults build confidence and enjoy fun activities with their peers, too. To learn more, visit CatholicCharities.net or call 312-655-7970 in Cook County and 847-782-4224 in Lake County. We're connecting youth with great role models. Join us today.
We're back. WNDZ 750 AM Catholic Chicago 312-255-8408. You go to YouTube, facebook.com/CatholicChicago with Carl Kozlowski, the author of a new book called Dozed and Confused.
Now, Mark, we have to also thank Michael May, our producer-director. Michael, thank you for the coffee.
And the donuts.
Thank you. That was phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Carl, you need to be here more often.
Yes, I do. Well, no, I don't. You got to see my belly.
Yeah, Michael, bring the coffee and donuts then.
I'd mentioned during break, before we started, I noticed Carl had made the sign of the cross. Catholic, you're educated Catholic.
Yes.
Your humor is, I don't want to say safe. That's not the right word.
No,
but, you know,
it's clean, but no, this book has some really, a lot of the stories are pretty nuts.
And
because I fell asleep all over Los Angeles, and many things, including some dangerous things, happened, but I found a way to always find it be funny.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's not namby-pamby like, oh, you know, ho-ho, you know.
No, and
it's very, a lot of comic bite to it, but it's almost totally clean. I have one bad word in the whole thing. Forgive me, I forgot to edit it out. But it was a quote of somebody else, and it was really funny despite being a bad word. So,
well, in our last segment, we spelled things. So that was.
You don't want me spelling this one. It was even worse.
But
Tell us
fascinated.
about your faith background.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm fascinated with the idea that as a faithful person, humor is not only it's your job too.
Yeah,
it's your life.
Yeah. Okay, so
tell us about your faith background.
Yeah, sure. My dad is from Poland. And he had been in the seminary for a while before deciding he wanted children and a family. And so my mom still sometimes says he should have stayed a priest because, he really prays a lot. Like when I had COVID and I was in the hospital for one day, he told me he said 10 rosaries in a day for me. That's amazing.
Now, how old is your father?
He's turning 85 in May.
And your mother?
And my mom, she wouldn't want me to say, not too far off, but lower. So, yeah.
39.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, she's 39. And so, so basically, she was Catholic also, or is. And then my dad just really instilled in us. I remember I started reading really young because I watched Sesame Street like 3 times a day on public TV here, and I loved the catechism, the St. Baltimore Catechism for kids, and I even played in my room without anybody knowing it. This is the first time I ever talked about it. I would take shoe boxes and make a little altar really low. I didn't have enough, but I would sort of pretend to be a priest, you know, and. Only happened
what
a
did
couple
you
times.
use? What did you use for bread and wine?
I think I just imagined
those flying saucers.
Oh yeah,
with the candy.
So you actually now, ironically, you played priest as a little boy in your room, saying mass. I never did.
Really?
I never. Most guys that become priests at some point played priest in their room, having their sisters sit down or brothers, and they're the congregation. I never did that.
No, we did it the other way. I have 2 older sisters, and there was a double bed, so we would, but my sister was...
Did you say mass then?
No, my sister did. She always insisted she'd knock us off the bed if we tried to do it.
How progressive. Yeah.
So tell us more about your faith background.
Basically, it was really instilled in us by my father, and I loved, and so I would run up to him sometimes and be like, Dad, I read more of the catechism, see, or here's what I know. And I was that in love with it, and I went to grade school, and I absolutely loved it because I even got to start I was a class clown, and I got to start my stand-up career there in First grade. Oh. No, what happened was I wrote a story. And I'm going to get back to the faith in a second, but I wrote a story. We were given an assignment, write a story. It was just like an exercise and learn to construct a sentence or whatever. Everybody else did like 3 pages, and these were granted wide lines. It wasn't like 250 words on a page. Exactly. But I did 26 pages about a dog and cat that could talk, dressed up as cops, and went on a crime spree. And
wow, you're in first grade?
Yeah,
how creative!
And my teacher had me read it in front of the class because she was so impressed. And then the class was laughing so much that she talked to the other teachers, and I went on a mini tour of the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grades.
Oh, wow.
And I knew I was onto something when a kid named Marcus Mabry fell out of his desk onto the floor laughing. It's the 2nd grade. It was amazing. So I didn't even know what stand-up was, but I fell in love with Saturday Night Live and especially David Letterman.
Oh, sure.
And my Letterman thing, I promise we'll get back to the faith, but the Letterman thing was amazing because he had a morning show when I was 9 before he got the late night show a couple of years later. And I was homesick one day and I watched it and I was like, what is this? It was so nuts. And so I faked being sick about every 3 weeks because I figured that's enough time to be plausibly sick. And I would stay home just to watch David Letterman's morning show.
That is now. You were born in what year then, Carl?
1971.
71. So makes you 52
Yeah.
years old this year.
Yeah. So so the faith point is I love the Catholic school, grade school. The high school, I appreciated it, but I mentioned before the show, they pulled the plug on newspaper funding junior year, and we weren't allowed to have the school paper till junior year to be in it. So I was very disappointed, kind of resentful. But I look back, of course, I appreciate it. But what happened was that in Chicago from 94 to 2002, I had a great Catholic community of friends. I went to the Open State Church, St. Mary of the Angels, and I made so many friends in their mentoring program, tutoring program, Midtown Center, and guys and girls. And we had a circle that was just like Friends the sitcom. There were like 6 of us, 3 guys, 3 girls, no relationships between us. But we we're all over Chicago, living it up, having laughs. And then I go to L.A., and here's where a problem hit. In Los Angeles, my narcolepsy, I crashed my car several months in. That's when it really took hold. And so I had to ride trains or walk around across the city or beg for rides. I was an excellent beggar. And so basically it was very hard to find a church that had single people. And so I went to this cavernous church, St. Basil's, about 3 blocks away from my apartment. Mm-hmm. And it just was so cold. It was like it wasn't pretty at all inside, even though it had been designed to be a cathedral. Ultimately, it wasn't. But it was giant, like Holy Name Cathedral. But it was dark inside, and people would just be scattered around. It wasn't a big congregation. I felt so distant, and I really, just barely clung on to my faith for like 14 years there. From 2002 to 16, I went there. And then Father Don Woznicki, who's a Catholic priest here in Chicago. I forget the name of his parish, or I'd plug him. But anyways, he was a good friend of mine in Chicago, and he moved to a church in Hollywood, which was like perfect. It was exciting, and he was my friend. So I went there, and suddenly I was popular because, that's the priest friend. I'd always hang out with him as he's greeting people after the Mass. And then he gave us our chance with Catholic Laughter, which we'll get to in a little bit. He started us up, but I still had somewhat difficulty never knowing friends that were Catholic, never knowing friends that were hardly even Christians there, and because it's really, I said yesterday to a friend who's not a Christian either, I said, well, it's just a godless city, and I meant it literally. Like there's so many people, especially in entertainment, that just literally don't care either way about church in any form. Don't want to hear it if you want to talk about your faith, etc. So I felt very cold and distant for like until Father Don, for over a decade, And so when I moved back home because I had lost 2 jobs that were very important to me, and I was having trouble finding another job, and then being around my dad and his religiosity again, I came to really appreciate the Mass, and and just appreciate it. Well, the important thing is the Mass, the Eucharist, not whether you have friends. Although, I go for some fellowship events to another friend's church elsewhere, but by no means do I take it as anywhere near as serious as my Catholic faith.
Which is strong for your faith. We're gonna go to break. Did you realize that Carl, when Mark was younger, he sent his picture to the Lonely Hearts Club. And they sent it back and said, we're not that lonely.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
Take us to break, Mark.
Please don't encourage him. WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408.
That was pretty good, Mark. It nailed you good.
You can go to YouTube, youtube.com/CatholicChicago. We'll be back with Carl Kozlowski and talk about your book, Dozed and Confused, a little bit of what's inside the book, but also how people can find the book.
There, Carl. Good.
And there he is. He's very subtle about
Vanna White.
promoting
Vanna
his
White.
book. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
For more than 20 years, Catholic Charities Adult Protective Services has been advocating for seniors who are the victims of abuse, neglect, confinement, or financial exploitation. With our partners at local, city, and state agencies, our trained case managers follow through on every concern that is brought to our attention in a cooperative way to ensure that our seniors are safe and protected. According to the Illinois Department on Aging, last year nearly 21,000 cases of elder abuse were reported in Illinois. Of these, only 5% were reported by seniors themselves. So raising awareness is an important part of this issue. If you are concerned about a senior you know, call 800-252-8966. That's 800-252-8966. With your help, we can stop elder abuse and look out for the seniors in our lives.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
We're back. WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. And you go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're with Carl Kozlowski, author of a new book called Dozed and Confused.
So subtle.
He's really holding it up. Is that a graduation picture from high school? No, I'm kidding.
No, not at all. Because people go, are you shouting or are you, or what? And
are you happy? Or
No, I posed I have a nice picture on the back of me, friendly, although obscured by the ISBN code. but you can go to my Amazon page for the book and see a big picture.
So to get the book Dozed and Confused by Carl Kozlowski, you can get it on Amazon?
Yes, sir. It's in paperback. Or yes, Father. In paperback,
you didn't call me,
ebook.
Don't call me sister.
No, it's in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. And the audiobook, I tell the stories just as animatedly as I tell here. So I promise it's a lot of fun.
So tell us about the book then.
Yes.
Yeah, well, okay. So as far as the picture goes, though, it's me exaggerated yawning. I had my headshot guy. He was taking normal shots where I'm smiling, and I said, "Wait, it just hit me. I need a picture of me yawning." He goes, "Why?" And so I did it, though. It was exaggerated. And he goes, "You look like you're angry." And then I was like, "Nah, but come on." And so this is like 4 years ago.
You hear, Mark? That photo was taken. Mark, Carl was listening to one of my homilies.
Well, I'm saying, don't you know that people buy visually from what's on the cover?
Oh yeah, no, but this cover has gotten me I've gotten like 20 some pieces of press around the country because I worked in the press so long. I had contacts and I'm getting great coverage.
Good.
Like the Chicago Tribune, everybody uses that photo, so it kind of stinks on Facebook. I want to post all these links on the book page and my page, and every one of them has the same picture, so it looks like just there's nothing else about me or something.
What moved you to writing the book?
Okay, so.
Good question.
Well, I'll just be honest. Okay, so I didn't know I was bipolar my whole life, basically. And I hit a Great Depression after losing a 17-year newspaper job. And then at my radio, I hosted and produced a radio show and in L.A., and that ended 3 months later. And I had a very hard time finding other work. I started really spiraling into depression. And my folks finally said, look, very kindly of them, they said, just move back to North Little Rock. And they let me stay with them. And so basically I had a lot of free time on my hands because I really didn't think I'd find work again because I was doing one thing for 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would interview, edit, write, that kind of thing. I handed off all the delegation to everything else, like the website running. And so I came out of that job when I got laid off with no skills, even from journalism, really. Mm-hmm. Everything's digital now. I'm not going to find a job anywhere. I'm terrified, right? So I'm sitting around the house.
And you were how old?
Oh, I was 49. This is 2020.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting around the house, and I'm like, God, give me something to do. And it hit me. I should put together a book of my funniest writings, even as a self-esteem thing. My therapist recommended it. And he goes, don't think your life's over. Don't denigrate what you did in the past, because I was starting to think I got to throw everything away, and what's the point of this stuff? And he said, no, embrace it. And so he said, write a book. So I wrote a different version of this, and I put it out myself with my own design cover, or a friend's very inexpensive design. And I tried to format it myself. It turned out horrible. It was embarrassing. The print was like, a vision test. And I mean, it looked good on my Word doc, but on Amazon it was a mess. And I didn't have money at the time to fix it. Mm-hmm. And so I sold 50 copies to friends, and they were all like, yeah, it's really great. And so, and then in October, I started a great job in August, the best job of my life. I work for Social Security Disability.
Oh, perfect.
And it pays decent, and it gives incredible flexibility. That's why I'm on the Strip easily. And so
the
basically,
program this morning.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be at work by now, right? And so, so the thing was, I just thought, I got the money now to do this right, and I hired people through Fiverr, a freelance site. Smart. And I sent my photos. And this woman made this fantastic cover again. And
hold it up a little bit.
The back cover's fabulous.
Good.
It gives you all descriptions.
Show them the front one more time. There.
Okay,
those didn't confuse.
It's going to be imprinted on your brain for eternity. But so I decided to put it out proper, and I also recorded it because it costs like $400 to record well, but. I just had a feeling like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it all the way. I'm a comedian. I should read this thing, not have people wondering, what's this guy sound like or whatever, right? And so I took a lot of faith into it, leap of faith, and I just put it out there. And I made a list so far of 23 places I wanted to be in media, get pictured portrayed in media. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I missed was I shot so high, I wanted to get Jimmy Kimmel Live because he's a narcoleptic.
Oh,
and
okay.
I pitched myself, and I went through, I said I'm a narcoleptic, and I fell asleep in his studio once during a show with a live band cranking, cold air, packed audience laughing, him talking. I still passed out in his audience, and somebody found me. And during a commercial break, they sent a cameraman up with a giant TV camera, and I was out. And then everybody starts laughing and clapping because the sign went on to make a great racket. And I wake up like, huh? And the
camera's on you.
The cameraman's like, go back to sleep, hand signal. And I'm just looking around, and the crowd is busting. Jimmy's head's down on the desk. And then he goes, hey, I know. He goes, am I that bad? And then he says, and he was like, look, I got a problem, but this guy needs help. So yeah, that's basically.
No wonder that happened.
That was like, he started January 2003, and in March 2003, I was in the studio. And so the thing was, I wrote to them and I said, I have this, find the footage, it'll be awesome. And they looked for it, they found it. And then they went through 3 sets of very serious emails, moving up the chain, and they finally told me it wasn't going to work out. But I begged. I was like, "What happened?" And they were like, "Look, we get thousands of requests from real people every year, and I'd say as far as you got, you were in the top 50 or 100."
Wow.
So so I gotta. But that's the only thing I missed. I just get really focused, and I work at it every day, and I'm lucky I have contacts, and one thing leads to another,
now,
and I'm here.
Here's a great line, and I've used it with people in confessional and counseling. No one can go back and start a new beginning, but starting today, you can make a new ending with the help and grace of God.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah.
And look at the blessings in your life from a moment where you didn't know what was next. Where do you think God fits into all that?
Very much. I mean, I still it took me a while to really develop. It took about a year for me to really be cranked up on my own about God. And I'd say, the more I'd say the last 6 months since I got another set of meds for ADHD and I'm able to think straight for the first time in my life, I just decided I'm going to read the Bible cover to cover for the first time ever. So I'm doing that, and I started going to Mass like Tuesdays and Wednesdays during the summer. Oh, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during summer before I started working. And I try to go once a week, but during the week. But just the more I did this, and I prayed hard because I wanted to overcome my depression. I just am really blessed that. God's helping me stay on an even keel and being positive.
You were at the 7 o'clock Mass this morning at the cathedral.
Yeah, sure was, yeah.
And you'll be at 8 o'clock tomorrow.
And you may not accept this word this way, but you've actively become what we're all trying to be as disciples.
Sure. I mean, yeah, there's a long story I don't want to get into because it's really kind of, in places it's sort of dark, but I, right now, a friend at the other church that I just do fellowship with, nothing else. I meet them on Wednesdays. He gave me a book called Turning Everyday Conversations into Gospel Conversations, and I started reading it a week ago. And, of course, you put the Catholic spin in my own head. I'm not going to, get distorted or whatever. It's interesting.
There's a great line from St. Francis once said, preach the gospel at all times. If necessary, use words.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Mark, take us to break.
Okay,
You're doing a great job. This is Carl. I wish we could be on all morning. Keep going, Mark.
WNDZ 750 AM Catholic Chicago, 312-258-408. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago with Carl Kozlowski. Dozed and Confused is his book with a stunning picture on the cover. When we get back, maybe what I'll ask you, Carl, is pick one of your favorite stories out of the book.
Oh, yeah. I'll read the Catholic school story.
Okay, good. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned. I mean, it's a great show.
Adults make all the difference in the lives of adolescents. Catholic Charities understands this, and our mentorship programs provide a free opportunity for young adults to spend time with volunteers who genuinely care about them. This program is ideal for youth aged 9 through 12 who may need support navigating the challenges of childhood and early adolescence. Our amazing volunteers serve as friends who help youth recognize their strengths and empower them to reach their full potential. Catholic Charities conducts a thorough background check on every volunteer, and our program coordinator closely monitors and supports every relationship. Mentoring is a fun after-school program that can help young adults build confidence and enjoy fun activities with their peers, too. To learn more, visit CatholicCharities.net or call 312-655-7970 in Cook County and 847-782-4224 in Lake County. We're connecting youth with great role models. Join us today.
This is year 44 for me teaching. When I started here, there were teachers here that had taught me when I was a student. Now I'm the old person. Right now, I teach junior high math. I love when kids find what I'm teaching to be fun and they get it. I see that light bulb go off and it's a thrill. People are always amazed. What? You're here for 44 years? It's hard for me to believe, frankly. I love what I do. Every summer I think, oh, I miss the classroom. Even on the weekends, I think I can't wait to get back on Monday and teach those quadratic equations.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
We're back, WNDZ 750 AM Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. You go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're with Carl Kozlowski, his new book, Dozed and Confused. We're going to hold off. We have just a little bit of time. We're going to hold off on a story from the book. Get the book on Amazon. But let's talk about Catholic laughter.
Yeah, so 2017, I was attending Father Don Woznicki's church in Hollywood. And again, he's a priest who was started here, moved back here. And anyways, he said, hey, why don't you do a comedy show on Sundays during donut hour at like noon or lunch hour, whatever. They have some sort of gathering.
At church?
In the church hall, yeah.
Gotcha.
Part of why my dad didn't fully appreciate what I was doing with this, now he does. He literally thought we were doing comedy in a church, like, you know, and I didn't realize that till a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, Dad, and now he gets it. But we're in the church hall, and I have a lot of friends that are really good comics that are late night level, and so I would ask me and my partner Scott Vinci. We would host the show to kick it off, and then we would bring in like 3 or 4 really good comics that are late night level, and so people at first were like, "What is this?" The first time they watched, but then they start laughing more, and then we kept doing it for like 3-4 months. It kept growing the audience, and then
this was after Mass in the church hall?
Yeah, after Mass once a month. Yeah.
Wow.
And
I love the idea.
Yeah, and so what happened was that eventually we were getting like a couple hundred people, and and Father's like, these aren't people from my church. There were people in the neighborhood heard about it, were walking in, showing up, and so he finally said, why don't we try this at night as a fundraiser? So we did a show. It was just unbelievable. I had this legend Catholic comic named Tom Dreesen, who was
Tom Dreesen,
600 times on late night shows, opened for Frank Sinatra around the world for decades.
Exactly.
And
he was from Chicago.
Yeah, and I begged him, and he showed up. We had a world famous, world record setting comic juggler. He bounces a huge ladder on his chin for the finale while juggling. It's crazy. People gasp and laugh before they laugh. And
that's what Greg did before he became a priest.
Yeah. So his name was Ron Pearson, and we had 3 or 4 other great Catholic comics, and that show sold out beyond capacity. We had like 200 people in a hall that held 150.
Wow.
And the fire department even showed up saying this has got to stop. And so, and it was a huge success. And then people were there from other parishes checking it out, and it just took off. We started doing shows all over LA, and then my partner got us a show at a fundraiser for his Catholic high school in Dallas, and that went well. And then the last 2 years we've been in Cleveland, last year and this year, doing a big fundraiser for a Catholic group called Friends of Rwanda. But the biggest thing that I really want to talk about is that the Tribune article linked to Catholic Laughter's website, CatholicLaughter.com, and the next day we got a phone call from a guy who works at the Athenaeum Theater, which the church owns or at least programs.
Here in Chicago.
985-seat classic theater, looks gorgeous. And he said, hey, we've been wanting to put on a comedy festival for years, and so I think you guys might be the ones to help us. And so we've been in talks with him. We don't know yet if it's happening, but it's going to be a 3-night clean comedy festival with a lot of Catholic jokes in it in September. And he asked us to find talent for it. And who could we get as best headliners? And he said, we got him Paul. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying.
We got Paul Rodriguez.
He's our joke teller.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Oh, I mean for the show.
Okay.
No. That's all right.
No, but we got Paul Rodriguez, who is a legendary comic and very devout Catholic. And we got Wendy Liebman, which is not Catholic, but the funny thing is we have her and Andy Kindler among our comics because Andy Kindler was a huge sidekick to David Letterman. And they're both Jewish, but the thing that's funny is they come out on stage and play up the "What am I doing here?" And
I'll tell you, I would love to get.
We have
Carl. We have an auditorium in our place.
450
people.
We want to do this so bad
at the cathedral.
If it doesn't work out there, we want to bring it here.
Bring it to cathedral.
But we do charge. We have to.
Oh, no. Mark, I'd love to have Carl and bring a group to the cathedral. It would be. Are you kidding? But first of all,
and I'd like to have some priests there from elsewhere so we can hopefully fan out and do more churches.
Oh, sure, boy, a nice place there would be the cathedral. And
that'd be great.
You could get
Carl. I love comedy. My background.
Thank you.
I love comedy.
You could get 3 or 4 really good priests to be part of the show.
Oh, absolutely. We do that sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I always say at the start of the show, this is totally clean, but there's plenty of priests in the house if you feel the need for confession afterwards.
And so you bill yourself with clean comedy.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that is so very important. So that's called Catholic Laughter. Now, just in the last couple of minutes, tell us about, I wrote down here on my napkin, Radio Titans.
Radio Titans was a podcast group that I ran from 2008 to 15, and we did a lot of very innovative things. And I also had a talk show about God with a Catholic woman from Arkansas. We'd sync up from a small town in Arkansas to L.A., and that got us a story in the Arkansas Catholic paper and in the state paper. And anyway, but it was mostly not God stuff. It was sometimes pretty crazy, I'll admit. But I just if somebody had a good idea and they weren't outright obscene or blasphemous, I let them do what they wanted. And it was so eclectic, and we got a lot of attention for it. The LA Times loved us. And so that ended several years ago. But the site is still up in a much more modified form. I don't have a lot of the shows, but go to radiotitans.com, and I'll have like 3 or 4 shows that I ran. But if you look at Conversations show and Greatest Hits, you'll see a ton of celebrity interviews. And basically, we decided last year to try and make a documentary about it. And we know Adam Sandler's right-hand man was a guest a few times, and he loves us. And I've been dragging it out, but I'm supposed to write a little mini book about that. I'm on the last part of it, and then we're going to use that as the basis to make our trailer. And the Sandler guy is willing to look at it and help us with either them or Netflix if he likes it.
That is just amazing. Now, the thing is, as you look forward, Carl, what do you envision down the road?
Well, I really want Catholic Laughter to be the primary thing because I think that's a niche that we were given by God. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like nobody, there's Protestant comedy circuits, and they're great. I've seen some, but nobody promises you're going to get somebody from the top late night shows. We always have 1 or 2 of those people in it. And so they're getting really top-notch comedy that normally a lot of church comedy is just, like I said, kind of namby-pamby, whatever. And we're bringing you a really great show.
Like the pastor telling jokes.
Yes, I was afraid to say that.
I think you were.
Father Sakowicz.
telling jokes. Namsy-pamsy. That is so. The thing is that it amazes me, Carl. you're a man of deep faith, and yet you have struggled.
Oh, yeah.
And you've hurt, and you've doubted, and you've walked away from the church. And yet,
Well, not really. I was going always, but I just felt cold about it.
It was cold and distant.
Yeah.
But somehow you're people can relate to you.
Okay.
Because here's the other thing: comedy and humor is a wonderful gift from God.
Yeah.
And there's a great line that says, "If you feel okay, please tell your face." And some of we Catholics we don't have to walk around with morbid-looking faces.
Right.
But even I'm sure our Lord Jesus enjoyed a good laugh.
Oh yeah,
With his,
I
with
say
his
that
apostles.
he probably told the best jokes in the world.
Oh, I think because
He's
you're
God.
connecting. What jokes do is you're connecting the human condition, but in a very funny way. And it doesn't have to be dirty, but keep it clean.
I always say the one thing that's missing from the Bible is why didn't they quote Jesus' jokes? For come on.
Well, and you've also, in my mind, just from our conversation, there's a new energy about you. You found your vocation. You found the talent and the religious journey. That
I thank my parents again. I can't thank them enough, especially my dad, for
But
being kind enough to let me move home and get my life in order.
But here's the thing, though, Carl. Your dad seems like a good, holy man.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But more on the serious side.
Yeah.
Where did you get this part about you that's just off the wall and just crazy? And in the best sense of the word, you're a funny man. You didn't get it from your father. I don't think you got it from your mother.
My dad has a wonderful smile. It's great when it can get him to laugh. And he can be funny sometimes, but my mom is she's a real dry deadpan.
Okay, there you go.
Slightly wicked wisecracker.
Okay, there's
and
your
so I
answer.
got a lot from her, and then I don't know. It was just a blessing to. Because the where it really started even before first grade was I drew my first crowd because I got my nose stuck in a bumper after a tricycle accident in Broadview.
Wait, you got your nose stuck in a
Yeah, and it was
bumper?
just like Christmas Story. Everybody came running to see what happened. Fire department had to show up, get me loose, and so I consider that my first crowd.
You really go pretty far for a laugh.
That's
huh?
like that. That's like that. Because we need to bring the program to an end. I want to thank in a very special way Carl Kozlowski, the author of Dozed and Confused. And how can they purchase the book, Carl?
You go to Amazon.com, you type in Dozed and Confused. Its full name is Tales from a Nutty Narcoleptic Life. All you need is Dozed and Confused. You can find the book, and I promise it's funny. If you get audiobook, it's like 5.5 hours of fun for like $14. And the paperback's $14, and the audiobook, the audiobook's also full price.
Well, thank you, Carl. We hope to get you back on the program again. Thank you to co-host Mark Teresi.
I enjoyed
Mark,
it.
you needed this hour.
Oh, this was
you
wonderful.
needed this hour.
Thank you.
Special
Absolutely
thanks
wonderful.
to our producer engineer, Michael May. I'll tell you, I was impressed. Michael May did the whole program solo.
I know.
Great job, Michael. To our listeners, God bless. The Lord loves you, and keep smiling.
Join us every Monday through Friday at this time for Catholic Chicago. You can stream our programs live or listen to past programs by visiting our website, archchicago.org, and clicking on Radio TV. And please connect with Catholic Chicago on social media.